And welcome to this week's edition of Reigns on the Cardinals podcast. Rob Reigns and Mike Reigns here on STLSportsPage.com. We're going to break down the week for the Cardinals as we've been doing ever since spring training. And Mike, the last three games of the regular season are upon us.
We are here, and some of us are probably not thrilled with how we got here or ended the season, but, that's the way things go, right?
Yeah, 3 games left in San Francisco starting on Friday night. A couple things, of course, to look at and to kind of highlight as far as these games are concerned. Cardinals need one win to get to above 500. They're guaranteed of a 500 finish now at 81-78 with the 3 games to go, but would like to get one more win to assure themselves of an 82 win record season for the year. And then, of course, if they can get one more win, that might mean Ryan Helsley gets the one more save that he needs to get to 49. He's already tied Trevor Rosenthal for the team record. Hope you had a chance earlier this week to read the story that I did with Trevor about what his thoughts were on his record and Ryan Helsley's pursuit of that record. But that's about it, really, that the Cardinals have to play for this weekend.
I really would love for Helsley to find a way to get to 50 because, that's just such an exclusive number for a closer there. And I think it'd be really cool if he could do it somehow. And, the other thing, too, is obviously as a Cardinal fan, you're not happy that they didn't make the postseason, but as a Cardinal fan, you want to find a way to finish second in the division and stay ahead of the Cubs too. So, it gives you a little bit of positive thought for the end of the season, right?
We need to send a thank you out to all of our sponsors who have been with us all year here on this podcast, on the Reigns on the Cardinals podcast, making it totally free for you to listen to and kind of chime in with your thoughts and questions about the team. So thanks to Archwell Health, Drury Hotels, AAA Head Travel of Missouri. Here you've got another company you're going to hear a little bit more about. I'm hearing a little bit later on the show, so stay tuned for that. So I appreciate all of the people who've been with us all year and make all of our content here free for the public. So, Mike, I think everybody's kind of anticipating what's going to happen on Monday. We've all kind of alluded to the fact that some changes are coming in the organization, perhaps as soon as Monday. The one thing I think that you and I both agree on is that whatever happens this weekend, the results of these 3 games in San Francisco, I don't think changes what they need to do, and I don't think it'll change what they will do starting on Monday.
No, I don't think so either. And I think you're looking at the course of the whole season, right? And you're also looking at the course of last season, and you're looking at how many games they've actually won in the postseason in the last 5 years, and it hasn't been that many, so
I think the last 4 years it'll be 0.
Well, correct, but I'm just saying, and I think that's not where this team wants to be, right? I mean, no. I think Mo has always said from the beginning he wants a playoff caliber team, and so has DeWitt, and they want to get in and see what happens. Well, this team hasn't been anywhere close to where it needs to be, and so the questions become, who is responsible for that, and what changes do they make to head in the right direction?
And how sweeping are the changes going to be, and what involved? I think we all agree there's going to be some. Now, obviously, only a couple people, and obviously Bill DeWitt Jr. being one of them, maybe John Mozeliak being the second, know what those changes are going to be, at least at this point as we start the offseason. Obviously, not everything has to happen at once. Not everything has to happen on Monday. The one thing I will say is that while we anticipate some announcements on Monday, is because of the fact that Major League Baseball kind of frowns on teams making major decisions and major announcements during the postseason. They don't want anything to take away from the teams that are actually playing and competing for the pennant in the World Series. So with Monday, of course, being the last day before the playoffs begin, although Monday now obviously could become a very important day as far as the playoff race is concerned because of the rain in Atlanta that wiped out the 2 games this week between the Mets and the Braves. So they are scheduled to play a doubleheader on Monday in Atlanta if those games are necessary for the playoffs. So it kind of depends on what happens in this weekend with those 2 teams as well as with Arizona, if they need those games or not. So I don't know if that would have any effect on changing the Cardinals' plans as far as a potential press conference or potential just announcement through a press release or something like that. So we just have to wait and see. But I would urge all Cardinal fans to kind of stay close to Twitter, stay close to your feeds on Monday, because I think there's going to be some news.
And I think the real question mark is, how big and how widespread are these changes when they start to come, right? Because this club could go 15 different directions, I feel like, right? You could make a small move and make someone a fall guy such as, Michael Gersh and say that, the analytic department didn't do what they needed to do this season. And as they start to regroup that, I think as you look at the Gary LaRocque and the player development side of things, you're going to see a lot of changes there because there's not really anyone internal that can do it. And then you look at the fact of the manager that hasn't got the club to the postseason when he needs to. And who's ultimately responsible for all of that? John Mozeliak. So at what point do we say we're replacing everybody, or we're replacing some people, or
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how this all shakes out.
One thing I expect to hear on Monday, if we hear anything on Monday, is the fact that Chaim Bloom is going to have more of an official role in the organization. He came on this year as an unofficial advisor, kind of a consultant. Obviously, after he left the Red Sox at the end of last year, where he was the head of their baseball operations, he spent this year kind of analyzing and observing. And I think he's got some thoughts and observations, obviously, about what he has saw over the course of the year. So I think the transition is going to begin with him, whatever his role is, whatever his official title is. I think he's going to have more of an official authority and more of an official decision-making position, and that could come as early as Monday. Obviously Monday we also may know what John Mozeliak's exit plan is going to be. He has said that he's going to leave after his contract is over at the end of next year, but what his role is going to be going forward and how he will serve that year out, I think is something that everybody's kind of waiting to see. Because I think the biggest problem with people having an opinion about what the Cardinals are going to do is they want to know who's making the decisions. And if the decisions obviously that haven't worked over the last couple of years, if you think you're going to have new decisions and make a lot of changes going forward in the organization, do you want the person to making those decisions to be the same people that have made the decisions the last 10 years that haven't worked?
This club, and the number that I still harp on, is when you look at the offensive side of how this team performed this year, a negative 54 run differential. This team is not hitting. We've talked about their fact that they were very bad this year with runners in scoring position, very bad with the bases loaded and nobody out. And so who is responsible for how this team performs? Is that Ollie? Is that Turner Ward? Is that the analytic department and how they approach? So what direction do they try to go and claim who's responsible for that?
The one thing I do think, and I think you're going to hear this probably on Monday if we do hear a press conference, is that I don't think there's any quick fixes. I don't think there's a 1 year plan that's going to turn this team from a 500 club into a division champion caliber club. The only way to do that is go out and spend $500 million on free agents, and we know this club's not going to do that. I think they're going to turn the focus on themselves. They're going to turn the focus on the player development system. I think you're going to hear about some massive changes within the structure of that farm system, maybe finally putting in some money into the organization as far as strengthening the technology that's available at that level, teaching, increasing the staff personnel that's available to help players at that level. Because I think there's been too many times, and you and I have seen it, and we've talked about it, not just this year, but for the last several years, you get a player who's shown that he's playing well in the minor leagues, deserves a promotion to the big leagues, gets up here, and then struggles. And I think that, to me, is the number one issue with this club that they have to figure out going forward is why have so many young players, who are ranked among the best prospects in baseball, not just on this organization, but throughout the game, get up here, and then they just struggle to perform. That's the answer that they have to have. And I don't know if they have the answer to that.
And then we end up trading that prospect or that young player, and they go out and have a fantastic year, right? So I just don't understand what is hindering their performance up here and their approach.
Right. So I think development is going to be a big issue that we're going to hear a lot about. Obviously, we may know Monday the status of manager Ali Marmol going forward. He does have 2 years to go on his contract. I don't think that in and of itself is going to be a reason to keep him or a reason to not keep him coming back for this job. But his future might be tied to whatever decisions are made above him in terms of who's going to be running the baseball operations department and who they have in mind that they want to see kind of involved in this organization. I do think you're going to maybe see some coaching changes at a minimum. I think not everybody is going to go unless obviously there's everybody above them goes, but I think you're going to see some changes there. I think they need to have some kind of a long look at the analytic department. And as I say, the technology upgrades that I think they really need to make.
And this club has, never really, when you look at the player side of things, they've never really fully revamped and rebuilt, right? They've never wanted to do that. They've never wanted to tear things down and start over. But is that something that needs to happen in the front office? They've never done that either, but they've also never had this kind of a performance for this long of a time, right? And so they need to figure out a way to get back to where it is. And obviously we don't know the answer to this, and we can't pull know the inside of why this happened. But, you look at our previous manager who's got a pretty good ball club in San Diego and has a way to win with them. And you wonder if, what was calling the strings here. He was the last one to get this team to win and do something in the postseason, and you just wonder why this team is not doing it with the current coaching staff that they have.
And here, I think the bottom line for next year, we're going to get into some kind of the personnel decisions the team has to make. I don't think we'll start hearing about those on Monday. We have plenty of time for that. But I think my bottom line is you look at 2025 and compare it to what's happening in 2024 and even last year is if this is going to be a 500 team, if this is not a team that can be built to contend with the Brewers and potentially even the Dodgers and the Braves, the Phillies, to win the division, to get into the playoffs and have a chance to actually go forward in the playoffs and get to the NLCS, get to the World Series, if that's going to be the kind of club that you have, why do you need to spend, $200 million payroll? Why do you need to have, $25 million a year first baseman? Why do you need to have a $25 million a year third baseman who aren't producing at the level that you need them to produce at to be in that kind of position? Go with the kids. I mean, I think, strip it back. You got a lot of good young players and a lot of players. Again, frankly, we don't know what their future is going to be. And we've seen one of the mistakes that this club has made is with a lot of the young players. I think the fans would rather see that. I mean, and I know that there's been people who said the St. Louis fans would not stomach a total rebuild. I don't think it has to be a total rebuild because I think you've got talent in those young players. But I think you go to those young players and say, look, go play. And if you play at 500, fine. Because if you play at 500 with those kids, you're not spending nearly the kind of money that you're spending on the other veteran players that you have had in the last couple of years who haven't had success.
If you're really worried about the TV contract and you're really worried about having the money to fill this payroll, that's a perfect way to, kind of use that as an excuse of, hey, we need to cut the payroll, but it also gives you a chance to let these kids play. And I think any fan, if the team is going out every day and playing hard and having fun playing, I think the fans are going to look at this differently, right? I think some fans are tired of watching Goldie and Arenado really struggle at the plate when we're paying them that much money. And the same thing with Miles Michaelis and Steven Matz, right? I think we're tired of watching some of that stuff. And so why not use some of the kids? Michael McGreevy comes in and he looks great, but we don't give him a shot.
Victor Scott II, another one who I think has probably gotten shortchanged so far this season. All you have to do to look at how the fans are reacting to this is look at the attendance totals. Look at those empty seats that you saw at Busch Stadium all the month of September. That's something I think the ownership has to take hold of. First time in the history of this ballpark that the Cardinals did not draw 3 million fans to Busch Stadium. First time actually since 2003 that they didn't draw 3 million fans. And that affects the team's bottom line. That affects the team's revenue. So I think that's something that, as the Cardinals make their decisions as far as going forward, as far as the playing personnel is concerned, it has to be a factor.
And I think it's safe to say that the attendance this season was 100% because of the product on the field. This team didn't put out what they needed to play and do, so people stopped showing up because the team wasn't fun to watch.
Yeah, and so I think that as they make these decisions about who's going to be in charge, who's going to be making the player personnel decisions, I think that's something that's going to definitely kind of be a factor. Obviously, the most notable free agent that this club has on the roster at this point is Paul Goldschmidt. Been a great player for them, probably a future Cardinal Hall of Famer. I think potentially a future Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, but going to be 37 years old as he plays next year. Going to want a lot of money, probably. I mean, you'd have to offer him a qualifying offer would be $21 million or something like that for next year, and they have time to make that decision. But if I had to flip a coin and say what's going to happen, I think Paul Goldschmidt, as of Sunday, will probably play his last game with St. Louis.
And I think it comes down to, does he want to play one more year? Or does he want a 2-year contract, right? Because some of that could change too. And I think the question that they have to ask themselves is, where do they see Alec Burleson? Because to me, that's the question. Because right now, Alec Burleson probably has trade bait higher than it's ever going to be. Mm-hmm. Now, if they think he's the player that he was this year, you got to look at him as the whole body of work. He had a great first half. Did he have a great second half? He struggled here a little bit down the road too at the end. And, some of the reason this team played well at the beginning was because of the play of him. And so where does he fit into this club as you look at next season?
Hasn't hit a home run since August 17th. But I think the other part of Goldschmidt's decision is, I think it's money related. I think it's probably years of the contract is related. I also think it comes down to this. If he's going to play somewhere, I think he wants to win. I think he's the kind of player that wants to be on a club that has a chance to win. And again, if he doesn't think the Cardinals have that opportunity, if he thinks it's going to be a 500 club, does he want to come back and go through another year of that? I don't know. I can't. And that's all something that he's going to have to decide. along with, obviously whatever it offers the Cardinals make or don't make to him.
They've got, a lot of big payroll questions to figure out, right? And, another one of those guys, as you look at this, is Nolan Arenado in your long-term plans? And as you start to fit where some of these guys play and some of these guys make room, you got him signed for a few more years. But if you look at how he's performed this year, do you want to watch that more often, or do you want to see some other guys fill into that role?
3 years left on his contract, and I think part of the problem there is that obviously he's not just a free agent, so you can't just let him walk. You'd have to try to trade him. He has a no trade clause, obviously, so that's a factor. Where he would want to go, you'd have to find a club that's willing to, either eat part of that contract, or the Cardinals be able to eat part of that contract if you did want to try to move him somewhere. So I think his future is a lot more murkier to me than what's going to happen with Paul Goldschmidt.
For sure, and I just think that as you look at the whole body of work, you've got a few too many guys in a few spots, right? Because like Sajayce's played well and has done, what you want him to see, but he probably doesn't have a spot next year if Gorman is back and playing the way that he should. And, so it's going to be interesting to see where those guys go. And then you take a look at right field and Jordan Walker, and you watch the way he had a few defensive errors, the last, series here. And is Jordan Walker a guy that can play right field every day?
That's the question the Cardinals have to answer. Because if he's not playing right field, where's he going to play? I think part of the problem is they've got about 5 guys that probably actually they're best suited to be a DH.
And that's what's interesting is when you look at Luken Baker, you look at Alec Burleson, you look at Jordan Walker, and you look at Nolan Gorman. Those are the 4 that I can think of right off the top of my head.
I'd put Herrera in that group too.
And Herrera probably fits in there too, right? And so then, you got to figure out what's your outfield look like. Are you looking at Siani back in center? Are you looking at Victor Scott back in center? Are you looking at Nootbaar and Donovan out there? Are you looking at Burleson out there? Are you looking at Walker out there? You got 1 or 2 too many guys, and so you got to start to figure out, are they going to, in spring training, work that out, or are they going to figure out something in the offseason to make some other moves?
The other 2 guys, of course, that we'll have to have a decision about fairly soon is these 2 of the veteran free agent pitchers that they signed last year, in Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. Both of those players have options on their contract for next year. So if you're looking to cut payroll in a significant way, there's 3 guys that if you don't bring them back, Goldschmidt, Lynn, and Gibson, you could cut those guys loose and save probably $40 million or so out of your payroll going forward. So that's something to consider as well. I think if I had to bet right now, I would bet that of the 3, Kyle Gibson is the most likely to return. Obviously, Sonny Gray's not going anywhere. He's under contract for 2 more years. He's going to be this team's number 1 starting pitcher. But to me, I would like the chances of Gibson coming back better than Lynn, health-wise, and I think he also may be more of a teacher kind of guy, role model, not necessarily a role model, but I mean just kind of a go-to guy in that clubhouse for pitchers to talk to, and younger pitchers especially.
And as you watch Kyle Gibson pitch throughout this year, it seemed like he had 1 bad inning, and that was about it. But then he figured out how to settle down, and the majority of his starts, you look up, all of a sudden it's the 6th or 7th inning, and he's still going. And so I think that bodes well, too, because it takes a lot of pressure off the bullpen. So he's definitely one of the guys that I would bring back, given the opportunity. And honestly, I'd rather have Lance Lynn here than Miles Mikolas. But that's a question you got to figure out, because you're paying Miles Mikolas $16 million for him to get rocked every game. And do we really want to see that happen anymore?
Well, we're going to see it on Friday night because Miles Mikolas gets his last start of the season, the opener of the series in San Francisco, and then Belante and McGreevy get to pitch the final 2 games on Saturday and Sunday. So it'll be interesting. I think to me, the future of this club is obviously the young players. I'm not talking about just 2025. I'm talking about going forward. You've got so many guys, as we talked about before. You got Walker, you got Gorman, you got Sajayce, you've got the young pitchers coming, and Tink Hence and Quinn Matthews. I mean, there is talent within this organization. Again, but can they get past that lump of when they get up here that they just can't perform at the level that they are expected to perform at? And maybe it's an evaluation standpoint. Maybe those players aren't that good. Maybe that's the answer, is that these prospects have been overhyped, not only by the Cardinals, but throughout baseball. And maybe they were just not, going to be star players at the big league level. Maybe that's the answer, but I don't think we know that yet. And I don't think until we see them play on a regular basis. Look, I'll give you one classic example. Jackson Chourio of the Milwaukee Brewers this year. First half of the season, he was awful. He was hitting under 200. Since the All-Star break, after playing every day, getting those 2 or 3 months of experience, he's been one of the best players in the league. And the Brewers are a first-place club. I'm not saying Jordan Walker can be that player. I'm not saying Thomas Ajayci can be that player, but I don't think you know that until you let him play and see what happens.
And I think the other part you got to look at too is these kids in this minor league system this year. We had some minor league teams that won the championships or played in the playoffs or made the playoffs. And so they're having success there and playing well. Why are they not having success here? What's different?
Well, all of those are questions that I think the Cardinals are trying to answer. I think the fans want answers. Maybe starting on Monday, we will get some answers. So if you're looking for something to do for dinner tonight, I got a great recommendation for you, even though it's a little bit early, because our friends at Dewey's Pizza in Lockwood and Webster Groves had us out there last week in honor of the coming month of October, which is National Pizza Month. So as we kind of continue and wrap up this edition of the podcast here, we want to kind of take you inside Dewey's Pizza and a little bit of our trip there last week.
We get a chance today to head out to Dewey's Pizza on Lockwood and Webster Road. We're joined by Hank Blake, the general manager of the restaurant, and Joe Shaw, who's been there for a long time as well. We get to close to celebrating October with National Pizza Month. Now, I know that every night's a good night for a pizza.
It sure is.
Especially with the fall festival coming up and everything, and all the special pizzas that you guys do. I'm sure October's going to be a hopping month there at Dewey's Pizza.
Oh yeah, happy month for Dewey's Pizza. And you mentioned Fall Festival. Of course, Our Lady of Providence will be having their Fall Festival on Saturday, October 12th on Party Road in Crestwood, Missouri. But certainly Dewey's Pizza does very well in the fall. We're very happy, especially with our seasonal salad. You want to tell them about our seasonal salad?
Yeah, it's our harvest salad, actually, harvest apple. It has it comes with our apple cider vinegar, which everyone is really excited about this salad. Everyone's been asking about it for 2 months. Seriously. And it has pumpkin seeds, fig, Worcester cheese, and then it comes with applewood smoked bacon on it with the apple cider vinegar dressing on it. It's to die for. And you can also add chicken to it as well.
And I know one thing that separates Dewey's from any other pizza place on the corner is your specialty pizza as well.
Yes,
Not
yes.
just the seasonal specials, but all the normal ones.
Yes, yes. We have 13,
Yeah.
yes. And another cool thing is that we can also do half and half on any of our pizzas, which is one thing that a lot of pizza places can't do, is we can do a half red sauce and a half white sauce, which a lot of places can't, so we're kind of fancy that way.
I know. Mike's a big pizza guy.
Yeah, for sure. So like, as we talk about Dewey's, what makes Dewey's different and special, and why should we go to Dewey's over somewhere else?
Well, our crust for sure, light, flaky pastry, like dessert style crust. It's New York style, so it's circular, thin in the middle. Like I said, light, flaky pastry on the outside. Really good, fresh, high quality ingredients. And then, of course, our salads are also really popular and healthy. Make all of our own dressings here in the restaurant, that sort of thing. And then, of course, our service, like Jess right here, of course, does such a great job. And that also kind of personalizes it for everybody. And they like of course, they like the high quality food. They like our fast, kind of and professional service as well. And not to mention a great, being here in St. Louis, beer capital of the world, great beer and wine selection as well.
What's the number one seller for your pizzas? When people come in, what's the most popular option people pick?
Well, I'm going to show you guys right now what I'm going to make. That's certainly our seasonal right now is the Tito Santana. That's probably our most popular seasonal pizza. And I'll have Jess describe it for you.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just sure did you come up with the idea for that pizza, or where did that come from?
No, it's kind of a typical Mexican style pizza. It's really good.
Yeah, it's kind of like a taco salad pizza.
Yes, it sure is.
Yeah. So it's got it's a regular white crust, and then it comes with our taco sauce base. So it's not the red sauce or the white. And then we have the Chihuahua cheese blend, and then with the mild cheddar, red onions, crumbled corn chips on it, seasoned ground beef with the seasoned taco seasoning, and then shredded cheese, chipotle ranch, and diced tomatoes after baked.
Really good.
Yeah, it's
Sounds really good.
Yes, it is.
It does have like Jess mentioned, it does have the Chihuahua cheese, but not much of a bite to it.
Yes, it's not that spicy.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so let's see how we do it.
Yeah, we'll show you right now, folks. Show you right now. You guys can see me okay? All right, so we keep our dough in proofs in these boxes so it can still continue to rise if we need it to. And we always put it like in just a little bit of flour, makes the tossing quite a bit easier. And then we also put a little bit of flour on our pizza boards, or peel if you will, so that it'll slide off a lot easier when we go into our oven here. And then you just kind of use the palm of your hand to form the crust and go in a circle like that. And then you use kind of this side of your hand, we kind of put more flour, turn it over, and then this is how we like form the crust. We do like a little stretching motion here. And then this is our 11 inch. We have 11, 13, and 17 inch sizes. And we also offer one option for a gluten-free crust, and that's a 12 inch pizza. And then we kind of slam it back and forth. That also helps kind of toast it out.
Have you ever tried one?
Never. Never. And then these are a little harder, but then if you can get the circle correct, then we can also like, you know, toss it up in the air a little bit too. Yeah, opa, opa. Like at the Greek Fest. You guys covered the Greek Fest a couple weeks ago, I'm sure. Lots of fun down there in Central West End. Okay, and we put it on here. And then we start, as Jess had just mentioned, with our taco sauce base. Put some taco sauce on there. Then I get it nice, even. And I use one of our spatulas to get that spread around there a little bit. Now this one, all the ingredients are down here at the end. So if you want to follow me with your cameras, we can head down to this end of the make line for making our pizzas. And then we're always using our cheese cup to make sure we get the exact right amount. We like giving our customers everything they pay for. And then spread that out a little bit. Starts with, like Jess had mentioned, a Chihuahua cheese mild cheddar blend. Then it gets a little bit of these red onions. Put some of those on there. And then it gets the seasoned ground beef. A little bit of that too. And then, let's see here. Then we've got our crunched up Frito-Lay chips. And keep in mind, folks, this is going into a 500-degree oven. So we do, so it's healthy and safe is what I'm trying to get at about that. Crunched up Frito-Lay chips. Now, then we clean our board. Make sure all the ingredients are up on the dough. And then so we want this to be able to slide off easily into the oven. And then we do something called bumping our board. So we like knock it against here and we see how the pizza slides a little bit. That means we know it's going to come off the board into the oven. And then I don't know if that camera will show us sliding into the oven probably. I'm going to guess.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, we just slide it in here. And then, yeah, it's professional stones on the inside of that. And you can find out a real Italian El Forno, which is Italian for pizza oven. But it's very similar on the inside of that, how that works. And then it'll come off the other side in about 5 minutes.
So this was a taco-based sauce. How many different sauces do you guys have on your pizza?
You want to go over some of our
We have
sauces?
two, well actually we have three. We have a red sauce, which is a little spicy sometimes for some pepper flakes in it. And then we have our white sauce, which is olive oil, what's the cheese with it?
Minced garlic,
Minced
mozzarella.
garlic and mozzarella. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we also have a fig jam too for our one pizza, our porky fig. It's kind of a sweeter base, so it really depends on the person and your mood for the day, but
Also really good.
yeah, it's very good.
So we do offer pesto, and then we have barbecue sauce as well for our Southwest barbecue sauce.
So you can make any other pizza in the world that you want. Bigger than that.
I tend to go towards like a sort of like a Mediterranean / Italian style. I like feta cheese, pesto, fresh mozzarella, prosciutto, roasted garlic, calamari, olive, that sort of thing. But I like traditional pizzas as well. The Bronx Bomber is really good. That's like a typical deluxe with sausage, pepperoni, mushroom, green pepper, black olive, white onion. It's also really good.
I was going to say, even though we're talking about a lot of specialty pizzas and the seasonal pizza, you still have all the old-fashioned.
Oh, you want just the
Oh,
pepperoni
yes,
pizza?
yes.
Yeah.
Anybody that's not got adventures from them.
Exactly, yes. We have some unadventurous eaters, and that's what more than happy to accommodate them.
I
Yeah,
would probably fall into that.
we have really
Me
good.
too, me too.
We have really good craft beer, but we sell Bud Light as well. So, yeah.
I know that the pizza's about to come out of the oven, so we have to wrap this up so we'll be ready to eat it when it comes out. So thank you for coming joining us on this part of the website, this part of the podcast here. So we can take a visit to Dewey's Pizza in Webster Groves. I want to encourage you to check it out, especially for National Pizza Month coming up here in October.
And we want to thank Hank and Jess for having us out last week to Dewey's Pizza on Lockwood. I know that's going to be a popular item during October, but it could work here for the last weekend in September as well.
That taco pizza is very good. I will say that. So, yes, I encourage anyone to go check it out. And very good pizza.
And don't forget, as you're making your plans here with the Cardinal season coming to an end, that we'll be having our party down in Florida at the Homewood Suites Hotel. March 11th is the date. You can make your reservations now through the link on our spring training page on the website to get your room for a great rate. Rooms are limited at that price, so encourage you to check that out as quick as you can, as soon as you make your plans. And everybody, I think, excited about what's going to happen in 2025, and maybe on Monday we'll start getting some answers about what that team's going to look like. So, Mike, appreciate your visit as well, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those questions on Monday and be able to talk about it next week on next week's edition of Reigns on the Cardinals podcast.
Let's see what happens.